back, everybody. Today we have the brand new, just released McLaren Solus GT and F1 LM. This is a Speed Champion set, obviously. This is kit number 76918. This just came out, like I said, March 1st. This is for ages 9+. This has 581 pieces. It's definitely available retail still, link below. And if you're a VIP member, you will get 227 points for this kit. I say I'm excited a lot, but anytime I get an orange car or a McLaren car, I get excited. I've always been a fan of the McLaren F1. It's just a really cool car. When it came out, it was the fastest production car you could get. Just a beautifully designed car. If you want to learn more about it, Jay Leno has some good videos showing you around his. But for now, let's dig into the Lego version. Alright, since this is a 2-car pack, we have 2 manuals. We have 4 bags. I'm assuming these bag 1 and 2 is going to be the Solus. It looks like those are the parts. We have 1 chassis because the Solus doesn't have a chassis. It looks like this one just goes to the F1. We have 1 decal set, which I thought there would be more. I thought there would be 2 decal sets, but maybe those are just silkscreen. Ah, there it is. I knew there was another one. All right, we have 2 decal sheets. 1 for the F1, 1 for the Solus, and we have 4 bags, and it looks like separated into the 2 cars. So, let's get started on the Solus. All right, that is the McLaren Solus GT and F1 LM. While I love McLaren and I love how bright this orange is, it's really close to the papaya. The video and the pictures don't really do it justice. These two are very delicate. Most Speed Champions cars are pretty durable, pretty rugged. I mean, look at this. This little thing here is the only thing holding that down. The spoiler, I'm glad that they finally have a windshield that's more than just two little things. This was just an overcomplicated set, both of these. Like that, when you pick it up, the pieces come up. This is a display set, not a play set. So to be 9+, for a 9-year-old to build this and then you expect them to not play with it afterwards without breaking these sides of the cars off, I think that's unrealistic. This with it was really genius creativity. I don't want to knock the engineers at all. What they did with the Lego pieces, it was just incredible to see it come together and to see the different shapes happen. To get the Solus, which is, if you look up the Solus, it's an incredibly unique car. But I mean, there's just so many little floppy parts on here. This is just barely held in there with the little T-bar. This is just barely held in there, and there's just so many pieces that are just hanging on enough to, not break off. Like I said, they did a good job getting it to look like the cars. For a Speed Champion set, this looks like a McLaren F1. This looks like the McLaren Solus. So they did a really good job on the realism part of it, but they were super complicated to build. There's, a bunch of tiny pieces where they could have used some bigger pieces. There's round-backed single pieces that could have been square-back pieces, so when you put them in, they don't twist as much. This was an annoying set. Like I said, as much as I love McLaren and I love the cars and I love the F1 team, this was aggravating. It was fun because it's bright orange, it's McLaren papaya orange, and it's a McLaren F1. And I mean, the back end looks awesome. It looks like an F1. They did a really good job on making it look like an F1. But for a kid's set, a 9-year-old set, to play with this afterwards for Speed Champions, and this one, and this one didn't even have a chassis. I mean, you built this thing piece by piece. Even some of the instructions, one of the steps started with one piece, not even two pieces. It just started with hold this piece. Don't even put anything on it, just step whatever, hold this piece. It was this one, this McLaren silkscreen part here. It was just basically find it and hold it and then move on to the next step. It didn't even have you put anything on it until the next step. A couple of these, you just put one piece on of the same piece when you could have put all 4 pieces on the piece. The instructions were annoying. Both kits were overly complicated. I get it for the realism to make it look like the cars. I understand the engineering that had to go into it to make it look real, but I think the realism should be reserved for the larger kits, like the GT that just came out, the 2022 GT, and the Ferrari, and the Bugatti, and the bigger kit, the Camaro, the Mustang, like all the bigger kits, the Icons kits where realism is number 1. I think you just need to save the realism for those. I mean, like I said, this is a very realistic McLaren F1, and they did a really good job. I mean, they used binoculars for the exhaust pipes back here. It's incredibly creative, and the way that they built this up, that this hatch to match these lines perfectly, hats off to the engineers, but it's annoying. The build was annoying. I love the finished product. I love it. I love the finished product. But getting there, it would make a 9-year-old angry. I have a hunch that this kit will frustrate 9-year-olds. I think this, for Speed Champions, this is a pretty complicated build, especially with this one, with all the little tiny parts in here to get all these angles correct and these little things held in and this little part in there, and it was annoying. And the steering wheel doesn't go down much. Like, you can't really, I guess I could get, see, there you go. I'm adjusting the steering wheel and the part fell off. This is what I'm saying. It's a delicate car for Speed Champions. It looks cool. It looks awesome. It looks like a Solus, but it's so delicate for a Speed Champions. It's held on by one little thing. It's just frustrating. It's frustrating, but they look so cool. So cool. I love these. I'm glad I built them, but I wouldn't do it again. I'm glad I have them. Yeah, I don't think the score is going to be too high on this one. Especially, I mean, this really annoyed me. These little parts here that come up and there's nothing else holding them on. See? There you go. Again, it's a display car. It's a Speed Champions display car. So that means it's an adult's Speed Champion set because kids are going to want to play with it. This is an adult Speed Champion set. This is not a 9-year-old set. I think I'm going to leave it there. I mean, I don't want to bash it too much because it was incredibly creative. I mean, I don't want to bash it at all. It was just frustrating. I mean, those are the only things I have to say about it. It was really creative. It was genius level creative to make this happen and to make it look this real. But it was torture level annoying on some of these things. Yeah, I'm just repeating myself. I'm gonna stop here. Yeah, so that's about it. I like them. I like the finished product. I didn't like the build. Well, here we go. The build time wasn't bad, but the myriad of tiny parts took a little finesse, so that slowed things down a bit. Not too much though, so this gets a 7. For a Speed Champions kit, this was way too complex. As mentioned, I know the complexity benefits the realism, but there should be a balance for this size of model, and this kit isn't it, sadly earning it a 4. The flow of the build really wasn't too bad. The cars were separated into different bags, and there wasn't much jumping around, if any, so this gets a 9. The instructions were a pain. Besides the multiple steps with only a single piece, the color of the yellow pieces in the book almost perfectly matched the color of the orange pieces in real life, and wasn't much difference from the orange pieces in the book either. On top of that, there were a couple steps where you had to hunt for the difference, earning this one a 2. The construction of these is also a little on the poor side. As I said in the review, these are display sets, not play sets, which kinda goes against the point of the Speed Champions series and the age range, which gets this one a 3. The size is pretty standard to the other Speed Champions, which is a little smaller than 124. Since that's on par, this gets a 9 like the other Speed Champion sets. Realism is really where this kit shines. The F1 has a lot of creative details that make it accurate to the real car, and the Solus did pretty well at capturing the crazy shape. This is a well-deserved 9, which is higher than most Speed Champions other than the Brian Skyline, which just came out in January. Maybe we'll see a trend towards realism over playability. Maybe LEGO is marketing these more towards adults. Maybe that's why the price for single cars has almost doubled in the past 3 years. I guess we'll find out eventually. Maybe. The age on the box is definitely off for this kit. I think a 9-year-old would struggle with the multiple tiny pieces and the delicate assembly. This one only gets a 2. It's a shame that the final product doesn't weigh heavier on the fun score, because it would have helped bring it back up. But with the build frustrations and the instruction annoyances, this one only gets a 4. Just for reference, it would have been a 2 if it wasn't orange and a McLaren. For being a 2-car set, this really wasn't priced too steep. It was well under the price of buying 2 single cars individually, which gives this an 8. Adding these all up, this set gets a total of only 57. I was really looking forward to this set and I really wanted to like it. Unfortunately, it just didn't live up to my expectations. McLaren seems to have a long partnership with LEGO like Ferrari and the other manufacturers, so hopefully we'll see some higher scoring sets in the future. Speaking of future, I have a huge collection of current sets and retired sets, and I make sure to get all the new cars when they come out, so don't forget to subscribe to see all the other sets I'll be building. We also still have giveaways when we hit subscriber milestones, so share with your friends and help us get there. But for now, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.